Aragon might be a very modern and recent track, but the spectacular scenery and the dramatic elevation changes make it feel much older than it really is. So we are here to help with that vintage sensation by dropping some 1960s Grand Prix cars on the track just to see how they can race it out. This should be a thrilling combination as we get ready to watch round 5 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series. You'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joey Atterbury, and with me in the booth today is Ozzy Puhaka. Behind the scenes is our director, Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Well, Aragon is one of the newer additions to the iRacing service that arrived in 2023. Let's check it out with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Motorland Aragon. About an hour and a half west of the Mediterranean coast, this scenic but dusty course is a more recent addition to the Spanish motorsports landscape. Built to replace a dangerous street circuit in the nearby town, it's become a hub of modern racing for the country. Motorcycles are its most famous draw, but it does see sports cars and lower-level open-wheelers visit frequently. Plus, its warm climate makes it ideal for winter testing. Its 7 layouts range between 1.5 to just over 3 miles with 12 to 18 turns. Its most iconic feature is no doubt the towering wall between turns 7 and 13 that accentuate the dramatic elevation changes. However, the difficult Sacacorcho chicane easily has the greatest drop over the shortest period. Reminiscent of Laguna Seca's corkscrew, this right-left flick leads onto a pretty long acceleration zone, even in the GP layout, so it'll be important to get that exit right. Expect most passes into turn 1 are down at the hairpin of 16. But for those who haven't gotten enough of high-speed sweepers, the motorcycle and outer layouts include one final blast uphill and into a tricky late apex. Technical and picturesque, Aragon offers up a little bit of everything and is a versatile facility. It's easy to see why it was quickly embraced by both Spanish fans and race fans worldwide.
Well, Ozzy, it is a newer track. I really like this place. A lot of FIA style of corners, but give us a little bit more of a rundown.
Yeah, Joey. It is a very interesting circuit, something that may not be familiar to all our viewers. It's not kind of circuit that has a name that is hallowed by history. Something like Road Atlanta or Daytona or Watkins Glen, for example, with these cars, or for Europeans Nürburgring. But I think Aragon is an underrated circuit, especially this layout for these cars. Sure, you got the first sector that is a little bit more modern. Track is designed by Herman Tilke, and it shows. But then again, when you head to that back straight, you got a long sweeping left-hander that is just a little bit tighter than it looks on the track map. So it should be a challenge for these guys, with no downforce, mind you, to take anything near flat out. But at the same time, it's super important because you're heading into a long straight, lots of drafting opportunities, passing battles with these cars, and then a long sweeping last corner that is kind of reminding me of the last corner at the old Mexico circuit. So it should be an entertaining race, and these 5 kilometers or 3 miles, they pack a lot of entertainment in them, Joey.
I think no matter what cars we're going to put on this circuit, it's going to provide us a really good show. And let's talk about some points championships as we are coming up on halfway through this season. And right now in the F1 Points Championship, it is Seb Tixier that is leading the way. He's got about 13 points over Oye Zemayoa out there in the second place. And then I think the biggest kind of mix-up that I'm seeing here, Ozzy, once we get everything on screen, our previous champion, Togo Hisada, finds himself all the way down in the 6th place in the F1 Points Championship right now. So it's a little bit out of place for him, kind of maybe on the back foot early on in the season. And then also the other one that I'm seeing that's really standing out, Jason Clapper, having a fantastic beginning to this season. He's always the last to first challenge. not doing any sort of qualifying out there, but he is in 7th right now. And the F1 isn't the only points championship, Ozzy. Here in the 49 series, we also have the F2 championship, which is separated by the iRating.
Yeah, that is, and the F2 Championship is a very, very interesting concept as well, because it's sort of for the drivers who are new to iRacing, trying to get themselves acquainted with it and having something to fight for. But up in there, Björn Ackerman has the lead ahead of Jan Stefan and Michael Griesinger. So it's just 4 rounds down so far in this championship. You got Ackerman, then Stefan, then Griesinger, then Timothy Porter in 4th place ahead of Terry Tromeshauser. And another thing, I mean, it's gonna be something that changes all the time, fluctuates as the season progresses. But so far, it's been a very interesting Formula 2 championship with a lot of drivers who have the potential to take their class wins, so to speak, with the Formula 2 car, even if they are the same cars as they race in all of the series, but they don't necessarily do all of the rounds. And look at that one, Sandeep Banerjee in the 8th place in F2 driver standings. That is a man who has won a round of the Oval World Championship Series on iRacing. It was like 10 years ago, but he has done it.
Well, I mean, look, he's only got 1 point separating that battle for the 8th place. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. F1, F2 Drivers' Championship, always somewhere to race. And the other points championship that we do have here on the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series is the Cup of Nations. Right now, Spain narrowly ahead of Singapore. Now, Singapore kind of only usually has 1 entry out there, so kind of a little bit being held up. But then the United States in that 3rd place, and I'm just hearing actually Singapore usually has 2 entries, so getting a little bit further along there. But check out this battle for the 3rd place. Japan, UK, Germany, even include Norway as well as Australia in that. Only 14 points separating 4th through 8th place there, and only 1 point between Finland and Denmark. So always really cool to see all of the different drivers come from all of these different regions and really represent their countries in this Cup of Nations. Well, we also have our race details for today. Going to be going around this Motorland Aragon circuit in the outer configuration. Round 5 of 12, 21 laps is what we are going to be doing here in the 49 series cars. Open setups as always. That means the cars, the drivers, they can tune those to best suit their own driving style. If you need a little bit of understeer dialed out, well, you can do that. There's no spare car, so if you pick up any damage, you're going to have to live with it out there, and these tires do stick out pretty far from these cigar-shaped chassis. A drive-through penalty at 17x, and a disqualification at 25x. This is a relatively new track, Ozzy. I don't think the incident limit is going to come into play. I think our biggest danger area is coming out onto the back straightaway, keeping those wheels confined to your own little box. Don't push other cars off the track because it can get narrow back there.
It can absolutely, but at the same time, this is known, word has multiple connotations, but this is known as a gentleman series, and I don't mean these guys are slow or they are all 55-year-old dentists or whatever, just driving essentially as a weekend hobby. I mean, it's more of a close-knit community, and the racing is usually cleaner here than it is almost anywhere else. And we've been following this series for long enough to know that that doesn't always mean it's careful racing, just that they try their best to keep it clean. But look who's leading the qualifying so far, Joey. It is a man you said is underperforming this year.
Yes, Togo Hisada finds himself on the provisional pole position. We watch Ove Trengrade. He is actually coming around to complete his 2nd and final qualifying lap here. It's about halfway through. We'll be able to get this one done. And here in this qualifying session, just to let everybody know, when that timer runs out, the session does end. It doesn't continue. So you have to be completed with your lap when that checkered flag falls. It's easy to get caught out, but I don't know, from the 40 or so, some cars that I'm seeing here in the session, Ozzy, looks like about 90% of them have put down their qualifying time.
They absolutely have. We were watching Uwe Trengrade just now changing to Benjamin Zoko, the man from upside down area of the world, currently sitting 29th in the qualifying order, which is quite low down considering he is number 8 in this session, which means he has the 8th highest I rating, but should be improving a lot here on this lap. A 138 seems more like a bank lap to me. Something Ben has done to get himself a lap time, and that is very, very wide there indeed, and that's not going to be a lap time, so Ben's going to be starting all the way back, and that's the first surprise of today.
Yeah, as we check in on Benjamin Hackison here, coming out of some of these corners, he's actually completed with his qualifying time with about 15 seconds remaining. I don't think that anybody else is actually going to be able to put down a time. I'm seeing Christo Shinmai maybe just completed his lap, so I think it's pretty much going to be set in terms of our qualifying order as we got just the last few seconds remain and tick down. It will be Togo Hisada, your pole sitter in his number 2 car. Oye Zamayoa is going to be lined up alongside of him in row number 1. Then in 3rd place comes Seb Tixier in his number 21 car. 4th place is going to be Jorge Nieva. Ove Trengrade is going to be joining Pablo Rodriguez Joglar in 6th on row number 3. Xavier Sanchez in 7th. Daniel Perez Hoya in 8th. Laust Olsen, one of our camera cars today. And Bill Tyler on row number 5.
Yep, Laust Gang in full force in our chat as well. It's good to see these drivers having fans as well to support them. Stay Maurice is starting 11th, and alongside him will be Eloy Verge Ancosta in 12th position, Gary Ho in 13th, and John Olson in 14th place. Kevin Verbruggen in row number 8 alongside Gary Gellin. Then it's going to be Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado in 17th and Ricardo Luis in 18th. You got Matthew Maudsley in 19th and Janne Lehmann in the 20th position.
And we have Robert Plumley and Michael Grissinger lined up in row 11. Jack David Spickett in 23rd. Bjorn Ackerman 24th. Jan Steffen 25th. Christo Shinmai here in 26th. Shady Ahmad in 27th. Ray Oliver in 28th. Alejandro Sanchez and Ben Zoko rounding out row 15.
Yep, and we still got more drivers, a full NASCAR field here. Darren Burgess in 31st, Cam Porter in 32nd, then you got Tobias Hadley and Matthew Keane, 33rd and 34th. You got Andres Bruno, Jonathan Jordan in row 18, Arnold Koch and Benjamin Hackison, row 19, Jason Klappa and Kurt Klappa in row number 20. 3 more drivers will be starting in this race. Mats Linden in 41st, Oscar Plada in 42nd, and Robert Reynolds in 43rd position. And this is going to be a good one, Joey. Look at the amount of cars on track. I've never seen so many historic Formula 1 cars in one place.
Well, we made it through all 43 names, and we're just about to get the revs up on the racetrack. And you're right, look at the long line. We got the RPMs up, and a green flag here at Motorland Aragon. Actually, a really good jump from Oye Zamayoa on the left side. Togo Hisada does not really get going, and now a little bit of a stack up as Seb Tixier really has to check up. Togo Hisada around the outside, a little bit of tire smoke in turn 1, but it's Hisada, Zamayoa, Tixier now trying to make a move.
Yep, Tixier trying to take that second place. Might have to wait until back straight though, and you can see the twisty section here. It feels weird seeing these old historic cars in such a modern circuit, opened in 2009. Mind you, but it's still a very demanding testing section. But as they get towards the back straight, get towards the fast corners, you see some more of that sideways action these Lotus 49s are known for, and side-by-side action too behind them.
Oh, and it looks like maybe Tobias Harnvey is having an issue, as well as maybe Cam Porter getting caught up in it as we come down the hill. Now we charge through the Marc Marquez corner as we lead out onto this back straightaway for the first time. And folks, if you don't know about this Aragon circuit, we are not running the little FIA chicane add-on in the back. It's time to put your foot to the floor, use those Le Mans draft skills that you have, and put them to test, because look at how long this is.
And look at how that corner tightens towards the end. So it's really a challenge to keep it neat and tidy, to make sure you're not too early on the throttle. And here comes Samaola.
Looking down to the inside of Hisada, but isn't able to make the move in the final corner here at Aragon. Very much a sweeping corner, kind of tightens up here at the end. You see him clip that apex, and now we're out onto the front straightaway. Complete lap number 1 of 21. It is Togo Hisada. Your pole sitter continues to fend off the lead, but look at this. This is 7 cars deep. Laust Olsen is hanging on to the back. He's kind of the caboose with the fishing line attached to him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's trying his best to hold on for all those cheering fans as well. You can just hear the Laust gang chants all around the stadium, and here we are on board with Laust Olsen. Just as always, he's calm, watching, monitoring, trying to see what can he do in order to catch up to those guys. But mind you, it is maybe difficult to hold on to the back of that queue for now, but if they start battling, when they start battling, that's when Laust Olsen has his chance to not only catch back up to that pack, but probably make some positions as well. This is a very, very good position he finds himself in right now.
You see how much of that apex curb he really cut there. Got to be careful not to jump over that line as we feed out of that Marc Marquez corner onto this sweeping kind of left-hander. This is part of the straightaway here, but I have a feeling in these Lotus 49 cars, they don't really make any downforce whatsoever. They don't have front wings. They don't have rear wings. I have a feeling that bend is probably a lot more of a corner than what you think in these cars, especially with how much speed they can accelerate with.
Yep, that is one of the good examples of corners that become corners when you take downforce out of cars. Other good example is the 200R in Suzuka just before you head to the spoon section of the corners. For those struggling to maybe remember what that is after the hairpin at Suzuka, the long sweeping right-hander, used to taking flat out with almost any car, but with Lotus 49 it actually does become a corner. And not only these cars don't make downforce, they actually generate lift. Due to the high speeds that they're running in. So at above 200 or so kph, you really start to feel the lift generated by these cars. And that is also another thing that is very interesting. The faster you go, the lighter the front wheels become.
It's just a totally different style of car than what's made now. We have so much of a better grip of aerodynamics, and back when these cars were made, we simply didn't have the knowledge, and so it wasn't put out there in terms of the technology using that. And yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that these drivers are so drawn to these cars, is that they really are a driver's car, that you have to drive it, really pitch it into these corners, use the gas to throttle the thing out, steer it with the back end, steer it with your right foot. And I think that's one of the reasons why these vintage series are just so popular. There's a lot of character inside of these vintage cars as we ride on board the bright lime green machine. This is Pablo Joglar here in the 6th place position. He is just trying to hang on to the back of this pack. I mentioned Laust Olsen was on the back there, but it's Pablo now that kind of brings up the rear of this field. It was almost side by side there between Seb Tixier and Oye Zamayoa for 2nd place. Ozzy, I've been watching this. It seems like Zamayoa doesn't get the corner exits that Seb Tixier can.
Yeah, so a little bit slower on the exit, maybe just tentative, trying to conserve the tires a little bit. I mean, these are obviously not modern day racing tires. They don't really have that much tire wear, but maybe just trying to pace himself a little bit. But look at Tixier there, just very good on the exit. Once again, almost ending up by accident alongside Zamaloa. And as a result of that, having to really conserve himself, pace himself. We'll see how well he does on that back straight, but it definitely looks like the 21 machine is the fastest car on track right now, because you can see Zamaloa holding on relatively easily to the back of Hisada there, Hisada Togo there, and that's something I wonder how fast Tixier could go given the clean track, but that's something he has to make up for himself.
What kind of run they can get out onto the back straightaway, and actually this time it's Seb Tixier that just really has to lift off of the throttle. He's that blue and white car, this number 21 right here. He's been the one applying the pressure to 2nd place and just had to lift off, got a little bit of understeer going out onto the back straightaway. And you see even Togo Hisada, he leads this train, but he's even doing the serpentine down the back straightaway as Pablo looks down the inside of Ove Trengrade back here for the 5th place position. Looks like that green car is going to slip up into 5th. So move Pablo inside of the top 5 here, see if anything can happen. And actually, check out Zamayoa at the front. He's looking down the inside of Togo Hisada. He might have a pass done for the lead. We've got a change. Looks like Oye to the front.
Yep, and Tixier is looking to take that position as well. Look at them fighting side by side, then heading to the first of these sectors. Still side by side for 2nd place. This is good stuff, but Hisada might have to finally concede his position there. as he has the outside heading into the next corner and drops second, maybe drops third as well, depending on what Jorge Nieva does there on fourth place right now. So it can all change very quickly, but it seems like the battle flag has finally been thrown. They are no longer content with the pace that Togo Hisada was holding at the front. So just like in a long distance running race, track and field, or maybe cross country, where they're not happy with the leader's pace, so they pass him.
And look at this green number 7 car, because he is charging right now. Not only did he get by Trengrade this past lap, but he also was able to make a move around Nieva when the door opened. Unfortunately, he's not going to have the drafting help, so it's Nieva lined up and then Trengrade, who we're riding on board with, and I have a feeling that Pablo's going to be kind of a sitting duck. Are we going to go 3 wide? Yes, we are. Trengrade all the way to driver's left. He is on the furthest inside. Nieva is going to be on the outside of the track, but they're both going to get back around Pablo. So all of that good racing action for Pablo, well, he's got to do it again.
And they have to be very careful now not to battle too hard here, not to go side by side through too many corners. Because as we've established so many times before in these broadcasts, when you go side by side to a corner, you're not as fast to the corner as you are taking the ideal racing line. So when the drivers in front of you are taking that ideal racing line, the drivers behind compromising their corners are effectively dropping time. As a result of that, the gap is now 0.6 of a second between Hosada and Nieva, another half a second between Nieva and Trengrade. So they can't do that too much, otherwise they risk losing the draft of that lead group. Here we are meanwhile running on board with Björn Ackerman, who you can see there, and whose microphone on the headphones is not in the optimal position.
Well, you know what? He doesn't need to talk to anybody. He's like Kimmy out there right now. He just needs to be left alone to do his thing. And Björn Ackerman, one of our camera cars, always awesome to get these pictures from inside of everybody's sim rig. And Bjorn is actually the F2 points championship leader right now. He's actually slipped down 4 positions from where he started, so I think he's just trying to regroup himself right now, get back going on the charge forward. Right in front of him is actually a car that he might be able to hook onto. It's Jason Clapper. He's already gone up 12 positions. Jason is always one of those cars that starts from the back. He doesn't ever like to qualify. He literally likes to start at the back and drive his way through the field. And actually, this is a good little group because I know Jason's very fast. I know that Ben Zoko is very fast as well. Ozzy, you were commenting on his lap time in qualifying. This wasn't a very representative pace in terms of Ben Zoko's speed. I'm surprised to see him all the way back here in 26th.
Yeah, maybe just not familiar with this circuit, to be honest. I mean, this is a new circuit for a lot of these drivers. Maybe he's trying to get used to it. He's already beaten his qualifying time. Best lap so far was his last time around, 137.6, so that's 4 tenths faster than in qualifying. But we move back to Lost Olsen, who has lost the 7th position to Tyler there, and is battling Hoya now very, very hard indeed. Look at how wide he takes that corner. And yeah, way too wide there, Gonna be dropping positions 1, maybe 2 at this next complex. So losing rhythm a little bit, it seems, and that sends the drivers behind him into a little bit of a scuffle mode as well, and shuffle mode. They're going now side by side because they all had to sort of like drop back a little bit, brake a little bit, just to make sure that they allow enough room for Lost to get back on track, not to run alongside or in rear end him or something like that. And that is something that can easily happen in a pack like that. So they end up side by side for a moment, not necessarily battling, but just having a little bit of a checkup, I believe you call it in your real-life racing circles, shall we?
Well, and actually, check this out. Seb Tixier just drafted right around our leader, so move the blue and white number 21 to the point. He says he wants to go and lead some laps out at the front now, so as we come to complete lap number 7, we are officially 1/3 of the way through this race. We've had 3 different leaders. Togo Hisada led a couple laps at the beginning, then Oye Zamayoa came in, snuck away that lead. He led a few laps, and now it's up to the number 21 of Seb Tixier to go out there and get into the clean air. And Ozzy, we haven't mentioned this talking point at all as Tixier runs a little wide. Lap traffic is definitely going to come into play here. We're not even halfway through, so we haven't seen it yet, but with this group running so close to each other, I'm seeing all 5 cars here in the top 5 still in the group. You gotta watch out for that lap traffic when we run up on it.
You absolutely do. Now, I hope the lap traffic knows what to do here. And knowing what to do, I mean, they don't try to be too helpful in a way. Because you might think you're doing the good thing if you jump out of the way of the leaders, but that might become very unpredictable, especially if the speed difference is large. So just hold your line, be predictable, and if at all possible, communicate. That is absolutely the key. You can't communicate in a virtual world. They all have radio, they're all connected to the radio one way or another, so just communicate, saying, I see you, something like that. Just tap the radio button or put it on the chat, I'm staying left, I'm staying right. Effectively let them know that you see them, you're aware, and they don't have to second guess, because the worst thing that you are forced to do as a leader coming up to a slower car is having to second guess. If they're unpredictable, having to second guess, okay, what are they going to do? You want it to be an easy pass, preferably on a straight line, but if it's in a corner, just, hope that the other guy holds their line and you can find a gap somewhere that you can go through from.
No, unfortunately, looks like we had a multiple car incident. Steve Morris was collected in this one pretty bad. I believe it was also Gary Ho that might have been the guilty party in it all. This was a pretty big one back on lap number 8. We're going to get a GSRC replay here. This is the number 22, and unfortunately you see the purple number 10 come in here, and I think that Gary, he just missed his brake marker. There was a lot going on in front of him, and it's also known as target fixation. Just easy to miss up, especially when you're going these speeds.
Yeah, so let's see what happens there. Yeah, just not quite seeing anything from behind another driver. There was a little bit of an incident in front of them, or rather a confusing situation. Maybe Gary was caught watching as well, the drivers in front, like what's going to happen there, because you saw, I think it was Ricardo Ruiz or Matthew Maudsley, who was very late breaking into the corner, and then you just sort of get caught watching that. As you said, target fixation sort of kicking in. You get caught watching that. Maybe they'll come together. Maybe you'll try to anticipate something else happening. And before you know it, oh, here's my braking point. Well, bye-bye braking point. And instead of watching the accident, you become the accident.
We started off this broadcast by saying, this is a relatively new circuit. These cars have never actually been on this in terms of real-life racing. And actually, look at this. Oye Zemayoa has a possibility to poke a nose down, but he decides to lift off the throttle, continue to follow Seb Tixier. So I wonder if we're just getting the chess game of who wants to lead the races when you want to make the pass done. But I was going to get to my point of, I love the racing that we've been seeing here today. Doesn't matter if it's through the twisty bits, getting on the brakes, or using that toe, that Le Mans-style drafting that these cars are good at. I just think we've seen good quality racing and tremendous respect, as we always see every week from all the competitors, leaving room for each other.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't need to be an inch away from the wheels of another car to make a pass. You can leave space. It's fine, and you can still make the moves happen. And here you can see maybe a little bit of a calm before the storm as Tixier is leading. And this is what we talked about earlier, when it looked like Tixier was the fastest car on the track in that lead group, when he wasn't leading the group. He was second, third, or fourth down the group, and now he's leading them away. And now the pace has picked up where Zamaloa, Hisada, and Nieva are sorta, well, not really struggling, but you can see it's not as tight of a group as it was before. But here in this long back straight, they reel in, they start to reel in, they can make up the gains that Tixier earned in that slower, twistier section. And Hoglar, I must say, number 7, Pablo Hoglar, he's doing a great job of still holding on to the back of that queue. He's sort of half a second away. He's looking like he's constantly in danger of dropping out, but he never quite does. He's doing very well to hang on.
This is the battle for what is the 8th place position. Daniel Perez Hoya applying some pressure to the back of Laust Olsen. Laust, I think, is having another really good race. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to keep the pace that he had up at the front a little bit earlier. Seems to be slipping backwards just a little bit, and now he finds his mirrors filled with that yellow number 24 as Daniel tries to peek and pry, see if he can open up a door in some fashion to get around Laust Olsen for that 8th place position. We are coming up, or I should say, right at about halfway through the race right now. So this is kind of the break point, right, Ozzy? This is when you can kind of breathe a little bit. You understand the track. You've seen plenty of racing. It's time to put all of those notes that you've been taking the first half of the race, time to put them to use and actually apply all of that stuff. Try to pick up some positions and win this thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the lead group, to be honest, it looks like a 4-driver game right now. Sure, we got 6 drivers still in that same group, but Uwe and Pablo, they're sort of dropping back just a little bit. You can see them sort of kind of struggling in the cornery bits, in the twisty sections of this racetrack, more technical sections. And here you can see Zamaloa actually very late defense to the inside against Togo. It almost looked like he was going for the lead, but no, Togo had a great run on him, went to the inside, and Oyeter was more like mirror driving and looking at his mirror saying, "Not now, Togo, you'll wait for your chance, champ."
And from what I've seen, really the passes are done into that final corner or here into turn number 1. We've seen a few moves just being able to capitalize on that last corner exit, get the straightaway speed. And then through this first third of the racetrack, it's been a little bit more single file. And I shouldn't say single file. If you look at these cars, each driver kind of has their own point on the track where they let it track out to. They each have their own little apex curb. And with these flat Tilke style tracks, it kind of leaves it up to the driver a little bit, Ozzy. You see some of them taking a little bit more liberty with the lines, a little bit more advantage of all of the excess concrete that they've got out there, while some of them kind of keep it within the painted stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you always try to take the quickest line, the straightest line through the corner. So that's the basic gist of it. You know it, I know it, and everyone who's a racing driver calls themselves a racing driver. They should know it, at least. So what is the fastest line to the corner? That's always the question. What is the line you're most comfortable with, especially when you got a corner after corner after corner in the twisty sections of the track, when you have like a complex section? Then you always have to compromise something, whether it's the entry or the exit of the first bend in order to set yourself up for the second bend. And here you go, setting up a move is Nieva and almost ending up alongside Togo Hisada, but not quite able to pull it off. And here we are on board 10, heading onto the main straight, and Hisada just about able to pull it off round the outside. A great exit, and Nieva sticks to the inside because that's going to be Uwe right behind him, alongside him actually, heading into turn number 1. Can Uwe pull up the over-under? No, he stays to the outside, which becomes inside on the next corner.
Yeah, but look at just Nieva giving respect to Trengrade. Trengrade giving respect back to Jorge. Just, they're not making contact out there. They're leaving enough room on apex and exit for each other to really race it out on the track. And Ozzy, something we haven't talked about at all. I don't know if you've looked at the speeds down this back straightaway, but you know, we shouldn't request things, but I'm going to request trying to get the speedometer of one of these top 3 cars up, maybe from Togo Hisada, number 3 in line, because we are approaching 210 miles an hour down this back straightaway. I had no idea we were going that fast.
Yep, these cars may have the mind you, this is the first year really that the Cosi DFV, the legendary Cosi DFV engine was introduced. The V8 3-liter engine, and it produces 4,500 horsepower even with these cars. But when they have no downforce, it means there's much less resistance, and that means these cigars are cutting through the air like hot knives through butter. And you can see there just over 330 kilometers per hour for Togo Hisada with these cars. It's a bat tube, it's a cigar, you got no roll cage, you got open face helmets, you're doing 200 miles per hour. What are you doing?
You know, for anybody that's driven down the freeway on a windy day, you know how much it blows your car around, especially if you're in your like a SUV or something. And you can imagine what those wind forces are doing at 200 miles an hour on a car that only weighs 1,400 pounds or so. It can really toss you around it. And you're right, it's got to be a wild ride because there is nothing else like it here, at least in modern cars. It's pretty much strapping yourself into, it's not really a rocket because it doesn't have a rocket motor, but that's pretty much what that Cosworth was at the time way back. And it's crazy to see these things up over 200 miles an hour at this place. I knew that back straightaway is long, but I had no idea it was that long.
Yeah, it is something definitely to keep an eye on. So a lot of these cars are reaching almost their top speeds here, and that just makes for excellent racing in such a compressed circuit, because we know these cars can go fast in places like Nordschleife, for example, the North Loop of Nürburgring, and these cars can go fast in Le Mans, in France, and they can go very, very fast in a couple of other places as well. I know they're taking these cars to ovals, but they don't reach such speeds even at oval circuits. So it's something very rare that you see these cars even approaching that top speed, let alone reaching it, and then using that top speed to race each other lap after lap after lap in a 3-mile or 5-kilometer circuit. So you got 21 laps. So you got plenty of overtaking opportunities to reach that speed and then utilize that speed for something fruitful, as Jorge Nieva puts in the fastest lap of the race.
I've got my eye on the lead as well. It seems pretty equidistant, but you're right, the lap times are starting to come down just a little bit. And oh no, was there a problem? Jason Clapper was blinking out, but I was gonna say, we haven't jumped around too much as this lead just continues. We got 7 laps to go. I don't think it's gonna calm down whatsoever, but this was the battle that I had in my other eye. Check this out, Ozzy. This is all for what's going to be the 16th place position. This is Jack David Spickett, Ricardo Ruiz, Gary Quellen, Robert Plumley, and Jason Clapper. Our biggest mover is now the caboose who's going to try to make his way through this pack.
Yeah, so very, very good pack. Some differences in terms of pace, but not too much really. You can see some good racing, some different lines. Oh, and there's a bit of a mistake. Great job avoiding it by Jason Clapper, moving to the inside, making up one more position. We know he likes those last to first challenges, and maybe he's not going quite for first, but hey, 19th is not too bad.
Well, you know, he's still got 7 laps to go up there and really pick up some more positions, and the pack that he's in, I think that he's plenty able to do that, especially if you look at his lap times on the board. I'm seeing Jason Clapper here all the way up into 19th position with a 136.10. Put that up in terms of the top group, and it puts him inside of the top 10 as we see Togo Hisada did make a move for the 2nd place position. That was on the back straightaway. It's been that classic toe slipstream draft move down the back straightaway into the final corner. Actually happened relatively easy, and now it's up to Hisada to try to really get up there. And I'm sorry, Oye Zamayoa is still in the 2nd place. I miscalled that one, Ozzy.
No worries at all. What I was thinking when I'm watching that is Zamaloa is maybe starting to lose a tiny bit of ground to Tixier, and maybe Hisada is getting worried that, if Zamaloa loses Tixier here, then suddenly our fight is going to be for the 2nd place. Hisada was trying to make a move earlier on, didn't quite pull it off, has a chance again this time around, but he really needs to hurry up in order to make that move and still be a factor in this lead battle, as we are getting a replay here of something terrible happening earlier on. That's going to be Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado ending upside down and maybe joining the Australian contingent.
Well, this must have just happened. This is into turn number 1 here. See exactly what happens as Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado comes out of turn 1, and oh no, it looked to be the number 22 had lost control, was coming back out onto the racetrack. The 22 is Steve Morris, and it was not malicious by any intent, but unfortunately caught the number 17 out in a very, very bad way as we jump back to our lead battle up here. Seb Tixier currently holding off Oye Zamayoa, but check this out. Ove Trengrade and Jorge Nieva are getting pretty spicy into one. This is Trengrade trying to get down the inside here, but Nieva closes the door.
Yeah, Nieva said, nope, it may be only October and Spain may be a warm country, but I still want to hold on to my heating. No excess heat getting out of that door. I am gonna slam it shut in face of the Norwegian, and the Norwegian says, okay, if you want to play that game, then let's play that game. They're going to be fighting for 4th place right now. Meanwhile, the leading trio getting away from them. This is sort of what I was expecting to happen, but maybe Nieva in that leading trio instead of making the quartet, instead of getting stuck battling with Trengride here. But it is what it is. Meanwhile, we got a battle for the lead, actually, developing. Tixier and Zamaloa momentarily side by side there.
Yeah, and Zamayoa's over-under is going to get thwarted just a little bit because Hisada had his nose down in there, but now Hisada really has to check up. But, ooh, there's the big lift from our 2nd place car. he just couldn't keep the nose down, and now this draft train starts to creep back towards Togo Hisada. He's closing it in on Oye Zamayoa in that second place, but now Zamayoa still has the slipstream from our leader. Can it be 3 wide into the final turn? We're going to look for it. Hisada in the middle, Tixier on the outside, but looks like latest on the brakes. Blue and white, Seb Tixier holds on to the lead.
Yep, outside line, most grip on that line as well. A lot of rubber laid down from the earlier braking, so he can brake a little bit later than the other guys who would have to essentially take a massive risk in order to brake later than our leader there. So holding on for now is Sebastian Tixier. But how long is he able to hold on? That's the real question. You can now see both Oya and Togo really getting good runs down the back straightaway. And as a result of that, that's really gonna make the Frenchman sweat now. Tixier sweat in that blue car. Wonder, okay, what is going to happen next time around? It's easy to, well, relatively easy to defend one car down that back straightaway. But what happens when Hisada gets a run on Zamaloa, Zamaloa gets a run on Tixier? You're suddenly 3 wide, and you have 2 drivers to defend instead of just the 1.
Let's watch the front end of these cars coming through Marc Marquez corner, as well as this sweeping left-hander. See who can keep the nose tucked in towards that apex. See who has to lift out of the throttle. Hisada's got a great run through the first half of the corner, but it's really Zamayoa that is able to put the throttle down coming out. And now it's just all about that slipstream, that draft train, trying to catch our leader, Tixier, who really handled the section the best. You see him going over drivers left to try to break whatever slipstream that he can, play the defensive game just a little bit because, like we were mentioning earlier, 210 miles an hour provides a big old wake behind that thing to really catch up. And Tixier is way wide in the final corner. Thankfully, he's able to catch it up, gather it back up for the final apex, but really allowed Zamayoa as well as Hisada to close it back in. And we're looking at 3 laps remaining here at Motorland Aragon to settle it out for the checkered flag.
Yeah, you can take a wide line through that last corner. You can really emphasize the exit that way. And maybe he was doing it, taking a wide line, trying to improve his exit of the corner, make sure that those guys don't harass him on the main straightaway too much. But he was going a bit too wide, I agree with you. Ending up losing time as a result of that. And here on board Hisada, the defending champion, mind you, only 16 points so far after 4 rounds. And they always say that defending the championship is far harder than winning it. Let's see how Hisada's championship defense starts to roll on here. Taking this second place would be a good start. He is side by side with Zamaloa and takes the position. And Nieva now challenging Zamaloa as well, side by side into the back straightaway.
Well, let's see what Zamayoa is going to be able to do in the slipstream here, because he really had to get out of the gas. Like you said, Nieva saw the open door. He put his foot in it, was able to grab that position. Now Togo Hisada is kind of the sitting duck on the straightaway as he goes driver's left defensive, but here comes Zamayoa. 3 wide, Nieva, Hisada, Zamayoa on the inside. Hisada stuck in the middle. It's actually Togo latest on the brakes, trying to hold it off, but Oye is still sneaking it up the inside. 3 wide as Nieva goes the over, under, and now we got contact with Hisada. He's off the track.
Oh, what a dreadful turn of events. Togo Hisada ends up off the track, the defending champion, outside on a 3 wide, but what a move by Jorge Nieva, just taking the inside line on the last corner, able to pull it off like a legend, but sadly, just running out of room was Togo Hisada. You can see Nieva there, then over under on the second part of the corner, just finds enough space, and then you can see just a slight bit of a wiggle for Zamaloa there in the middle of the corner. Meanwhile, on the outside was Togo Hisada, just holding on to his line, minding his own business, ending up as a victim. Nothing malicious there, mind you, not blaming Zamaloa at all. A racing incident, pure and simple, but so unfortunate for Hisada. What is fortunate, however, was the gap behind him. It was so large that he's still able to tuck in back to 5th place, only effectively losing 1 position in that entire scrap, but also losing his chance to win. And that lead is now held firmly by Sebastian Tixier.
I mean, I got a feel for Togo Hisada as we watch this group. Let's see if any draft moves are made. I would expect them to be pretty calm if they want to go up there and try to catch Seb Tixier, but here comes Zamayoa, the third place car, and we're going to go 3 wide one more time. Is this deja vu? Because Nieva is once again stuck on the outside. Let's see if he does the same exact thing. It's Trengrade and Zamayoa now that are side by side. Nieva just doesn't have the space to put the car. Now he does the over-under on Trengrade and actually bangs wheels. Oh my gosh, what a save from Jorge Nieva not to get collected into that inside wall as everybody gets the white flag. 1 lap left here at Motorland Aragon.
Call that Iker Casillas-esque, because that was a wonderful save, and you can see there, just seeing that move down to the inside that he was attempting, but this time Zamaloa was holding on to the inside nice and tight, then a little bit sideways, and again a bit of a contact and just barely able to avoid that wall. That is, ladies and gentlemen, that is an Armco barrier. That is a steel barrier waiting for you. You're doing 200 k's an hour, 120 miles an hour in effectively a bat tube. That would have been a disaster had it struck, but he was able to avoid it by the merest of margins.
Well, it is all up to the driver of the blue and white number 21. Seb Tixier is who we're talking about. He's got a 1.3 second lead over second place of Oye Zamayoa. You see just a couple of lapped cars right in front of him. It shouldn't play an outcome here at the end of this race. It's got the number 43. That's Robert Reynolds right in front of him. But all he's got to do, hit the brakes one more time, click it down a couple of gears, and he is going to see Barney, the flagman, with the checkered flag in his hands. We had multiple different leaders throughout today's race. Ultimately, it was Seb Tixier taking control at the end and claiming today's win. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, Seb Tixier.
Wow, what a race for Seb as well. He was able to get the draft on the last lap, but I don't think it paid any effect. He was able to drop those couple of guys behind him on the last laps, ending with them battling 2 wide, sometimes 3 wide for positions. We see the drivers finishing great battles, mind you, all around. We only have so many screens to show it to you from. Sadly, here's Jack David Spickerton heading to the last corner for the last time. He's battling Robert Plumley there for 17th position. Plumley there trying to hold on. Will he be able to hold on? Spickett just cutting to the curb a little bit, trying to use all of the racetrack and then some, not quite able to pull that move off.
I love watching these cars. They just have these big old wiggles as Michael Grissinger's trying to get around Alejandro Sanchez for the 20th position. Looks like Sanchez is going to be hold him off on the drag race to the line, and it's pretty much going to wrap it up here for our broadcast. What we're going to do, take a quick break, be right back with all of your post-race results and interviews right here on GSRC. Seb Tixier, the number 21, that blue and white car, had a lot of positions throughout today's race, but ultimately claims first when it matters, grabbing that checkered flag just over a second over Oye Zemayoa. Ove Trengrade, I think, with a fantastic drive to come home in that final podium position. Jorge Nieva with potentially what I think is definitely the move of the race, doing the double crossover over-under on that final corner. That was something else to watch. And then Togo Hesada, unfortunately, with the fifth place finish, his early season woes continue. Fifth place, not where Togo Hesada definitely wants to finish. Pablo Rodriguez Hoglar in sixth place. Xavier Sanchez going to finish today in seventh. Bill Tyler in 8th place, Laust Olsen in 9th, Daniel Perez Hoya with a top 10 result.
And we move on to second place where it's John Olson finishing 11th ahead of Eloy Verge Ancosta in 12th, Matthew Maudsley in 13th and Gary Ho 14th. Jason Clapper, his start last challenge ended up in 15th place, a decent climb for him, mind you, over 20 positions here in this race, ahead of Ricardo Ruiz, Robert Plumley and Jack David Spickett. Benjamin Zogo finishing 19th and Alejandro Sanchez in 20th position.
Michael Grissinger rounds up in 21st. Ray Oliver in 22nd. I'm sorry, I can't say anything right now. Bjorn Ackerman finishes 23rd. Remember, he was your F2 points championship leader coming into today. Kevin Verbruggen in 24th. Yanni Lehman finishes 25th. Jan Steffen in 26th. Gary Quellen in 27th. Christo Shinmai in 28th. Kurt Clapper with a good run as well, up 11 positions to finish in 29th. And Arnold Koch in 30th. Also a good run, up 7 positions for Arnold.
Yep, and running you through the rest of your results, Jonathan Jordan finishing 31st, Shady Ahmad in 32nd, then Andres Bruno, Tobias Harvey and Mats Linden in that order. Mats also the final driver to finish on the lead lap ahead of Oscar Plada and Robert Reynolds, who are 1 lap down each. Cam Porter finishing 2 laps down, Matthew Keane and Darren Burgess finishing 3 laps down, and then we got a couple of more drivers as well to run through. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado, T. Maurice and Benjamin Hackerson sadly all classified as retired from this event, but a man who is going to be a lot happier than that is standing alongside Joey Atterbury for his interview.
Seb Tixier, dude, congratulations on today's win. That was some type of race, wasn't it?
I know I have a good pace, but I messed up my qualification because I had a very bad ping, and I was thinking about that, and I had to disconnect, reconnect several times. But I managed to stay. I have a good start and stay with Togo and Oyer, and then I was thinking I have to go in the lead to see if I can make some gap, because I think my setup had a better top speed. And well, what I hope would happen happens. The guy behind me start to battle at the end of the race and managed to get a comfortable gap for the 3 last laps.
I gotta say, first off, I love the hat that we're getting from you right now. So repping GSRC, always great to see. How was that back straightaway? We saw 210 miles an hour from you guys, but I was more interested in that corner coming out onto it. How much were you guys having to lift? And that seemed to really be playing a role in how much the runs were coming up behind you in that draft.
The last turn you're talking about?
Yeah, the corner leading out onto the back straightaway.
Leading to the back straight. Yeah, so this one, my setup usually is I set up to have a good drive out of the corner, so soft, clear IRBs, and I saw that I could make like 2/10, sometimes 3/10, just on there. So basically, when I manage to enter the third gear, I can go full throttle there. That's how I set up my car, and then I have a special gear setup just for the 5th gear to get up to 330 kph. Sorry, I don't know in freedom units, but it was tricky the last corner because depending on how much slipstream you have to brake way earlier, and a few times I locked a bit inside front, and it was close with Oyer. So yeah, I'm happy to manage to not crash anyone and finish first.
Well, just to give you the conversion, 330 kilometers an hour is about 206 miles per hour, or cheeseburger units is what I refer to them as. And Seb, before I let you go, anybody you want to give a wave to, give a smile to, and give a shout out to?
The same as usual, GSRC for the broadcast, Lotus 49 community, and my team, Platinum Racing.
Well, thank you very much. Claiming today's win, the driver of the number 21, that was Seb Tixier. Always love to see him, especially repping that GSRC gear. And it looks like we do have our next interview coming down into the booth. Togo Hisada is going to be joining Ozzy.
Yep. So, Togo, it was a good race for you. I know it's been a more difficult season than usual for you, defending champion, of course, but good race until that bit of contact at the end. But how did you like Aragon Motor Park? How did you like the track?
Yeah, it's very interesting track, and the first and the second sector it is technically very technical. So they're using the brake technique, so a lot of skills, and the last sector is just flat out. So the just a really unique character in this track, and really love to race.
And that really showed you had a wonderful battle for the lead there. You were even holding on to that lead for a while. Does that give you confidence that you'll be able to turn the tide heading towards the rest of the season?
Yes, and this race is I just this pack racing, and I think it's slightly slower in on the sector 2, the slow corner section. So every time has in the backstretch there's 0.4, 0.5 seconds separated with Tixier, Sebastian, and Oye. So the Oye is have a really good straight line speed because of the grip stream, but never stuck behind the Tixier. So me and Oye have a there's no straight line difference, so they're really difficult to make move in the last quarter and the turn 1. So I'm thinking the technical section, the sector 2, just make move and catch the Tixier, or the passing the OE and the P2, and at that time just 0.9 or 1 second behind, separated with Tixier, so that I can catch up. But there's looks like a slight slide from the but it's a racing instant, so I changed my mind and prepare for the next race.
Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful watching you race, and we were watching a slow motion picture. We were watching a slow motion picture of your driving. Your lines were just spot on. It was wonderful how you were able to use all of the racetrack exactly. It was so precise and such a masterful display of car handling. But how about next week then? I mean, we are now at Aragon. This is a typical motor racing circuit. Next week is gonna be an oval, Milwaukee. How's that looking out for you?
It's a very small track, I think. Yeah. And it looks like the 40 or 50 guys every time in the oval, so it's gonna be really tough and a very eventful race, I think. I think just a survival. It's gonna be, I like a little bit tighter setups in the oval and the stable setups, and avoid any collisions and find opportunity.
Well, that is a good plan indeed. The Milwaukee Mile, known to be a treacherous place. Okay, Togo. Well, it wasn't quite the finish you wanted, but it was still a good race from you and a display worthy of a defending champion. Who would you like to thank or send a shout out, a greeting to?
Yeah, my team and the Lotus 49 communities.
Short and sweet. Greetings, I'm sure, received to your friends and the community. Thank you, Togo, for the interview, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Next up is going to be joining us in the commentary booth is Laust Olsen, coming home 9th today, exactly where he qualified. How did you feel today's race went for you, Laust?
It was quite a fight we had. In the beginning, I could almost stay with the lead group, but then I lost the draft and started to overdriving a lot and sliding too much. And Bill Tyler and Daniel caught up to me, and later also Sanchez. And we spent the rest of the race having a great fight, going back and forth and making mistake, let the others by, and so back and forth. So it was good fun and great racing, and I think we all stayed clear of each other. So that was really good.
It seemed like once Bill and Daniel, Zabier, once you guys were all battling in there, it was quite the gaggle, and you had your mirrors filled quite often in today's race. I noticed the first third, they would kind of push you out wide, but then you would gather it back up and just pass them down into that final corner. What is that like, knowing you kind of have that lifesaver there at the back half of the track to use that slipstream just in case you do make a mistake in the front half?
Yeah, it's always nice, but I think there was a couple of times also where I was on the receiving end down the back straight. So I think it's nice to have, but it can go both ways. When you're in front, you're also quite vulnerable going down that straight. So yeah, the big issue for me was messing up braking or braking too late, and then overheating the tires when I began to slide. So that costs a lot of time and also lots of positions through the race. So as soon as I could keep it together and not overstressing the tires, I could do quite good laps and had no issues keeping the position or staying with the guys. So I think for me it was mainly down to making too many stupid mistakes.
Well, we go from sunny, beautiful Spain here to Milwaukee, an oval next week. Right, yeah, I can already see your reaction. First of all, you're going to race Milwaukee with us. I hope you do. And what's your general feel about going to an oval versus a road course?
Yeah, I'd definitely be there at Milwaukee. That's a race I'm looking forward to. And I enjoy racing the oval from time to time. Normally we race larger ovals where there's a lot of drafting and not too much braking, but this will be quite different. I think it will be really technical. You have to drive the car, so I think it's gonna be quite another type of race than normally when we visit the ovals. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Laus, congrats on the 9th place finish this week. We'll see you in 1 week's time.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
That was Laus Olsen finishing in 9th, and it looks like we do have one more interview that's going to be strolling in here to chat with Ozzy. Cam Porter, unfortunately, finished 38th today.
Yep, Cam Porter, one of our camera guys, and here on cameras as well. We saw one of the drivers repping a GSRC cap. Now we got a GSRC shirt as well, and look at that handsome fellow sporting it. Wow, does that look good on you. Well, Cam Porter, your race sadly kind of ended before it began. What happened?
Well, going into turn one, I was trying to be really careful. A lot of people were trying to be really careful. Unfortunately, one driver had a little bit of trouble and spun directly into my right rear wheel, which almost broke it off. I was trying to get back to the pits, but I decided it's just safe for me to tow. So I just towed for repairs. My car was almost, I probably could have kept driving it, but it would have been really slow and tricky. But yeah, I know I've been there. I've made lots of mistakes, so I can't really fault him too much. It's just unfortunate that I've had a really bad start to the season. Had some bad luck. I got wrecked out today. I got wrecked out of Brands Hatch. I had the jump start penalty at Barber. So hoping my luck turns around soon.
Well, you'll be doing a lot of turning around and turning next week because it's going to be Milwaukee. We're at Wisconsin, USA in terms of oval racing. Oval racing with a Lotus 49. It's not quite as new of a concept as it may seem to less familiar viewers with this series, but how are you looking forward to that?
I have done quite a bit of oval racing actually, so I don't mind it at all. And the oval races can be pretty thrilling sometimes, so I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Well, I certainly hope you can change your fortunes, but just briefly, if I may, about this Aragon racetrack. We're moving back to Aragon now. It's a new track for almost, well, everyone in the series, more or less. Lotus 49 hasn't raced here before, so how was the experience? How was the track?
I didn't have much practice coming into the race today. I did do only one race previous to this one. That was the Lotus 79 last season. So I was basically relearning the track again in practice 30 minutes before the race. So I didn't really have pace for the race anyway, but I was hoping to maybe get in the top 20. But unfortunately, bad luck today.
Well, unlucky day, but hope your turn. As said, hope your luck turns soon. That's Campora, everybody. And if you like anyone to give a shout out to anybody or say a thank you to anybody or just say hi, then feel free to do so.
I want to thank you, Ozzy. You have the gift of gab. So keep up the great work, man.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Camp. That's Campora finishing 38 today, and we'll see him next week at Milwaukee, as we'll see all of your favorite drivers as well, Joey.
Always love seeing Cam Porter at the end of these races. Doesn't matter where he finishes, he's always got a smile on his face. And that's going to do it. Thanks to the team today, Ozzy, Joe, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media store, website, and merchandise store, as you don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race for this series, Saturday, October 21st, 9:30 a.m. Eastern at the Milwaukee Mile. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. Up next on the channel is Camel, coming up Sonoma, 1 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.